In the mind of God, there exists the perfect tree. How near or far I am to that image, I cannot say. But one thing I can say is that, long before you arrived, I was here. I do not know whether I was planted by human hands or whether I sprouted from one of the thousands of spiraling samaras, what your kind often calls helicopters or whirlybirds. I suspect it was more likely the latter, though I suppose it ultimately doesn't much matter. Either way, here I stand. My days as a young sapling were pleasant and uneventful. The conditions here are quite good for my kind. I would eventually come to learn that you call my kind maple, and that our avenue bears the same name. Yes, I had to endure many a sweltering summer and winter's unmercifully bitter bite. But my kind was designed to patiently bear such things, and, in truth, just as many were the days of comfort that allowed for rest and quiet contemplation. I was barely taller than the surrounding weeds when the big trucks arrived. They came bearing loads of timber, the sacrificial products of my elder brethren. I patiently observed the phases of construction of what eventually would become your home. Patience is an innate characteristic of my kind. I suppose it's largely on account of not having any place to be other than where one is. For many years I grew beneath the shadow of the big house. Today, it stands beneath mine. Oh, if you were able to hear, there are many things I could tell you of the history of all that lies within my vision, both above the ground as well as below it. The house on the other side of the fence, that was once the schoolhouse before the big green building came along. And the house on the corner, that was inhabited by an important man who started a company. Beside his house was the stable that sheltered his horses. I can still remember the sounds and smells of the creatures. Today, that man's company occupies the mighty citadel atop the hill that overlooks the village. Though my existence has been unmarked by anything one might consider extraordinary, there have, of course, been times of trial and tribulation. Is there any life, human or otherwise, for which this is not the case? I recall a time, it was about the same time of year as it is now, when I had reached a height roughly equal to that of your home. A mighty storm delivered torrential rain that pounded the earth for 3 straight days. The old wooden dam to the north gave way, and the deluge came rushing into our low-lying hamlet. If you wonder how I could know such a thing, my kind has a remarkable ability to communicate over fairly wide expanses. There was much damage to property, including your home. My own roots were strained by the inundation of excessive water. Thankfully, the soil here is well drained, and I was able to hold fast. In like manner, your kind demonstrated its resilience and recovered from nature's powerful blow. There would be more storms and floods to come. There always are. I recall as well a time when a surge of cold and moisture caused the formation of heavy ice upon autumn leaves that had not yet fallen. Throughout the village, one could hear the painful snapping of limbs as they strained to bear the weight to which they would eventually succumb. My own appendages, thick as they were, managed to stay intact. Only one of my larger and frailer branches gave way and landed upon the wooden platform at the rear of your home. As it fell, it grazed the corner of your house and damaged the water-collecting trough. I believe you call it a gutter. For that, I do sincerely apologize, though there was nothing I could do to prevent it. I know there are days when you come to the yard and gaze upward upon me. I sense your apprehension about what might happen were I ever to collapse in the direction of your dwelling. It's something I'm sure we both wish not to happen. I also quite vividly remember, as I'm sure do you, the summer in which the air was dense with deafening noise and a thick vapor of asphalt as the streets were churned up to create the village's new system of waste removal. Thankfully, my kind has no need of such elaborate and obtrusive things. It was a stressful time for us both, though it may have been for the best, as my roots were beginning to impede upon your old system. Septic, I believe you called it? Again, I did not willfully intend any harm. Over the years, I saw several families, like the seasons, come and go. I must say that I saw more of yours than any of the others, as you spent so much time in the backyard, especially when your young ones were still saplings. It made me glad when you attached the end of a net to my trunk and played a game of hitting a feathered object to and fro. Later, you would build an elevated platform around my base for the children to play upon. And nearly every morning, I greeted the children's mother as she hung fabrics on a line running from the wall of the house to my trunk. I know my presence was the source of some labor for you. The leaves I shed, especially into your wading pool, were no doubt a nuisance. But I hope my usefulness and the umbrella of shade I provided compensated for any inconveniences. Oh, there's so much more I could tell you about the history of our little town. I remember things that you likely do not. The summer festival was once held in the field just beyond the brook. And I recall watching the last train pull away from the depot and into the woods, where your kind now hikes and rides the contraptions with 2 wheels. But if you wish to learn more about history and the like, there are places filled with volumes of words that tell stories, more sacrificial products of my brethren. I shall close in saying that I was most fond of the smaller, 4-legged member of your family. He expended great energy chasing the squirrels in your yard up into my branches. He would then incessantly yap from the ground at them, something I found rather pointless but nevertheless comical. I had 3 fewer rings when you buried him near my base. I see you pause at the place whenever you pass by. Though we are separate species, you and I do have a special relationship. How near or far I am to the perfect tree that lives in the mind of God, I cannot say. But here I stand. I do hope that when all is said and done, in the grand scheme of things, you will count me among your many blessings.